Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. I am your host, Dino DeCespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Engel. What is up, man?
I'm feeling pretty good, buddy. I think there was some good news today. I was happy to see. I got excited to see. I threw out the bat signal to my guy and said, "Hey, want to do a show and talk about football?" And I appreciate you for saying yes.
I mean, we got news. We got news in the morning. You know, another West Coast perk. You know, you wake up at a reasonable hour, and you know half the world got half the day in the books, and there's a bunch of news in our feed. So that's been great. But yeah, always happy to get the bat signal. Always happy to respond. I think a USWNT specific episode might be in order this evening. But yeah, with that said, Mr. Grand Angle, where do you want to get started?
The U.S. women's national team roster came out. The training camp roster came out. Did you hear? That's where I'd like to get started. And I want to get started with a delicious beverage, cheering to everybody who made this squad. Couple first-timers on there. Good news for everybody.
Let's go. Cheers to the defending Olympic champions.
Excellent point. I just want to start the bidding with I fucking love this roster. I think it's a good vibes roster. Like if the World Cup started in 2 weeks, probably not the roster I would pick, but that's the World Cup doesn't start in 2 weeks. And so I want to see a lot of these players in these next couple friendlies. And I just think the makeup of the team is extremely interesting.
I love the good vibes angle. The zoom out for me, and you know we'll get through all the units and the entire 24 player roster sort of kind of as we go through the show. If you're watching the show, suffice to say you probably already saw the roster, but if you didn't, we'll work our way through it. So be patient, bear with us. My main takeaway when I saw the 24 was like a little rugged, like you know it's almost like you know like the rugged tires on the I like this approach. I mean, whether it's like, you know, Cooper and Sears, the midfield, it's like a really, you know, beefy midfield. I feel like there's a lot of kind of heft to this lineup. Maybe Emma Hayes tipping her hand a little bit with regards to like maybe playing a more physical, not physical like we're going to run past you, but physical like we're going to be here for all of it from a physicality standpoint. I don't know. I like, so maybe it's a combination of the good vibes and then also things get a little testy. We're going to be ready for that too.
Yeah, I could see that. And that might speak to why I just like it. My gut reaction when I saw it was, whoa, I really like this roster. That probably plays into it. I think you're right on about that.
You mentioned the World Cup, you know, like how would we feel going into the World Cup with this roster? It's funny because obviously our podcasting journey begins the 2023 World Cup. We're right about halfway between that 23 World Cup and 2027 in Brazil. So do we feel like players showing up in this 24 have a reasonable shot to be in consideration? Because I think at this point, halfway through the cycle, if you're Emma Hayes, obviously you have to fill this roster. You probably aren't putting veteran players on this list if you don't think that they've got a shot in 2027. Is that kind of like a relevant read, or what's your thought on that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you have some players who are definitely going to be on the borderline. I mean, you know, I've said it many a times on this podcast. Crystal Dunn is probably my favorite U.S. women's national team player ever. Everybody knows what a physical specimen she is. I can't remember what the exact number is, but I think she gave birth to a human being and played professional football like less than 150 days later or something absolutely insane like that. Please fact check me in the comments. I know it's something just outrageous. Emily Sonnet. I think Emily Fox is probably safe to make the World Cup. Emily Sonnet, I think, is going to be on that borderline a little bit. Lindsey Heaps will probably be a little on that border. Linby and Dolo might be on that border of, you know, what kind of options do we have, or are you kind of at an age where you might not make the final roster? So, but I think your read is right, because if they're on the borderline of that, then they're within shouting distance of making it.
Yeah, that's totally what it feels like. And I think, you we'll see what the lineups look like. We had, as part an extension of the bat signal was like, hey, let's have some fun here. Let's pick an 11. Usually, what we might do, we might, make it a little bit more combative. If in our past, we might try to do a draft or kind of go heads up, and it might end in some sort of social media poll, where there are winners and losers. But here at the ITC, this is one unit. There's real cohesion here. We're kind of like heading in the same direction. So no competition here. We're just going to throw an 11 out there, pick a formation. I went a little off the board with the formation here. I'm kind of excited. I know this is usually a 4-2-3-1 show. Didn't go with the 4-2-3-1. Kind of, okay. I put them together more reflective of who I thought was on the team personnel wise. So let's go unit by unit. You let me know who you had. Let's cover the formations up top here, and then we'll go unit by unit and talk about some of the players.
Okay, that's totally fair. Despite usually being a 4-2-3-1 guy, I went with more of a 4-3-3. I went a little more traditional because I too, similar to it sounds like what you were thinking, just kind of looked at the personnel and thought, if I was named manager, something has gone terribly wrong in the Federation. But obviously, you're coming with me because I need you on the staff if that were to happen. But if I was named manager and I had to pick the roster versus the People's Republic of China, who they play here coming up, I think I'd play a 4-3-3.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I'm not too far off here. I went with a 4-4-2 or sort of 4-4-1-1 in the spirit of seeing what BFC did this past weekend versus Angel City, but somewhere in that neighborhood. So we're not too far off. So I'm excited to get into it with you. Let's start though with the goalkeepers. I look at this list. So who's on the list here? Mandy McGlynn, Claudia Dickey, Fallon Joyce, PTJ.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at this list of three, kind of get the feeling that this might be our best three options. Apologies to Aubrey Kingsbury, who I think has a real case.
Sure.
But I would feel really good heading into a tournament with these three.
I think that's fair. It caught me mid-sip there. Sorry about
My
that.
bad.
I was slacking. No, you're good. That's on me. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah, so like Aubrey Kingsbury, Jane Campbell, Casey Murphy, probably want to be in that mix. But, I think there's a real argument to say these three are probably the best three in America. We talked about it 2 weeks ago where Laura Harvey was heaping praise on Claudia Dickey and saying something to the effect of, I don't want to misquote Laura Harvey here, but said something pretty close to me, actually, in a response to a question I asked, that
Let's go.
That Claudia Dickey has a real shot at being the number one goalkeeper in the USA, which I thought, as I've thought about more, is pretty interesting. As probably everybody watching this show knows, Fallon Joyce played for Seattle Reign or OL Reign in their previous iteration. And I'm not like, I don't say this to stir anything up, but I do kind of wonder if any of that ever gets back to PTJ, if she just kind of raises an eyebrow to just go, hey, Laura, remember me? I'm American too.
It's like, okay. Just a little thumbtack goes into the press board with the clipping. Love it.
There it is.
I appreciate your journalism work there, obviously holding Laura Harvey's feet to the fire. And I remembered that tidbit for sure. And then I went back and checked, okay, what kind of statistical case does Claudia Dickey have to be number one? Well, Dickey's got the best save percentage in the NWSL of American players. She's third in the league, but first among Americans. 77.4% of shots on target. She's also number one by a lot, by a mile, by almost double in post-shot XG minus goals allowed, which is basically how much good XG is she keeping out of the net.
Right.
And she's good for about a little bit over half a goal per 90, which again is miles ahead of who's in second place there. I think is like 0.33. It's a big gap between even first and second.
Wow.
The one downside though, 12th among NWSL goalkeepers in pass completion percentage. She's only completing 71% of her passes. Kaylin Sheridan at the top of the league at 85. So outside of that, I think Dickey. Well, I mean, we're gonna put together an 11 here. Dickey is my starting keeper of these three.
Okay.
I think I'd put her in that slot. I think she's on a bit of a heater in the NWSL.
Yeah.
Confidence is high. Her shot stopping is really good. Her passing, I think that's something that can evolve. But yeah, I think I've got Dickey number one. Slight edge over PTJ, Mandy McGlynn. It's tough to say because I think in Utah it's been a rough year, and I think her last outing or two for the U.S. Women's National Team, little shaky.
Sure.
She had a couple moments there, but yeah, I think my read on the goalkeeping room, I'm definitely excited about having these three.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. So all right, we have our first diversion. I went with PTJ.
Mm.
As you know, my analysis, that's a goalkeeper. That's how I feel about her. I mean, I love the shot stopping ability. It's the same thing. I think people kind of question her ability to play the ball out from the back, and her passing ability kind of relies on the long pass, similar to Claudia Dickey. But when you are long and athletic the way those two are, and now we talked about it last time when people had kind of questioned PTJ in the last round of national team matches. She didn't have Naomi Girma back there, and now Naomi Girma is fit. Fresh off a double for Chelsea, winning the league and winning the FA Cup, and now she'll be there to distribute the ball. So I'm going to go with. As much as it hurts my heart, not that I dislike PTJ at all. I think she's my favorite keeper in the USA right now. But I have to pick a Manchester United player, which I don't feel great about. But that's okay. She's a great goalkeeper.
Over a Seattle Reign player at that. So I don't know, just some press clippings flying in every direction here at the ITC. We're just getting on everybody's bad side. All right,
Objectivity.
No argument there. Obviously, you already know how we roll here. Let's scoot ahead one unit up the field to the defenders. Well, why don't you kick us off here? What was your first takeaway looking at this group? Well, let me kind of go. Let me knock through them real quick, and this is in order of appearances: Crystal Dunn, Emily Sonnet, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, Tara McKeown, Emily Sams, Avery Patterson, and the debutante from the Orlando Pride, well deserved, under ballyhooed, I would say, Carrie Abello. Welcome to the party. What do you think of this group?
I think this is where we start to look at some of that grittiness that you described, and I think we're going to see it up and down the roster, as you mentioned at the top of the show. But yeah, I like the makeup of this group of defenders. You have your toughness, you have your smarts, you have your experience, you have your energy. Running the gamut. Understanding Carrie Bello has 0 caps, but running the gamut from Crystal Dunn's experience to Avery Patterson's experience, and then you have 2 players with amazing skill sets, years and years apart. I think it just kind of shows, obviously, the excellence of this team, which is no secret.
Yeah, and I think each group has that distribution, it feels like, except for the goalkeepers, where it's like a lot of experience, years in the league. We'll get to the midfielder. You have that dichotomy with one player and the midfielder with Lola Bonta. But I just love the fact that there's no one unit or one spot where it's just like, wish we had like more here, where like everything feels pretty well fleshed out from an experience standpoint, from a skill standpoint. Feels like we've got a lot of bases covered. I think as we move upfield, we'll have more to talk about. But let's get to the 4 defenders that you had slotted in for your 11.
From left to right, give me Carrie Abello from my Orlando Pride.
Bingo. Our Orlando Pride.
Thought I could sneak that in there. First center back, obviously, you know what time it is, Naomi Girma. Her partner in the center back area, give me Tara McKeown. I just like the way she plays, man. She had that great pass to Casey Kruger. She can give you some attacking, hard-nosed defender. And then give me Avery Patterson on the right side. She's good, dude. I mean, I know that's not breaking news, but she's fucking awesome. And I look forward to watching her play more and more in the NWSL, possibly in Europe, and more for the U.S. Women's National Team.
I love that. Patterson, took a long look at Patterson for sure. That bumps off Emily Fox. who I had as my starter at right back. I mean, tough to knock a player like that. I mean, could do everything, for this
For
team.
for sure.
Even score. I mean, if the moment calls for it, just a super player. Also had Naomi Girma at center back. Had to go with my Orlando Pride.
Our Orlando Pride.
Our Orlando Pride superstar center back, defending NWSL Defender of the Year, Emily Sams, as Naomi Girma's center back partner. But I love the Terry McKeown shout. Shout out to Terry McKeown, who yelled at me, quote that, after how Hirschfeld told me that the Spirit had to come out and thug it out versus the Orlando Pride. And pretty much the highlight of my ITC career for sure, by a lot. Right. And then I also have Carrie Abello. I think Abello and Sams could create for some nice chemistry. Definitely some rugged ball for sure. And I think Carrie Abello covers a ton of ground, much like what Emily Fox does on the other side. Ability to get up and down the field, even kind of work her way into the middle of the field and be dangerous and distribute. I think, thinking about where the U.S. has been in that spot with Dunn and Niswanger last year or so, could be a nice breath of fresh air if Abello can get in there and get going.
I love it. Yeah, good call. And I even think it's kind of weird to say, and you can tell me if I'm just kind of like making something up. There's something about Abello, Girma, and Sams to where I just think they will play well together. Like, even though Girma's never been on the same team as them, really. I mean, Sam's a little bit in past national team, but something about those three where I'm just like, yeah, that fits.
Yeah, it fits. It's like I don't know, a Wade LeBron Bosch, kind of setup where it's a nice balance among the three. Yeah. I had that same thought. I love that you kind of called that out. All right, I think we're off to a good start here, and a little bit of variance in our starting lineup. So I'm excited to get into what we're doing in the midfield. As a reminder, I'm going with my 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1. So I'm rocking 4 midfielders here. I think it gives me a chance to maximize one of the groups of strength for the U.S. Women's National Team. You look at this group and it's like there's no breaks in this midfield. I think all 6 of these players are just on the wrong day. It's over for you. I mean, it's a bad matchup. So top to bottom, again, from number of caps, Lindsey Heaps. You already know what time it is. Sam Coffey, Lily Yohannes, third on the list, 6 caps.
That's awesome.
How about that?
That's great.
Olivia Moultrie, welcome back to the party. Ecstatic to see Moultrie back on this list. Claire Hutton and Claire's Kansas City current teammate, Lola Bonta. What a joy. I mean, like let's get into it. Lola Bonta, welcome to the party as well.
32 years young, making her U.S. Women's National Team debut, a massive moment for the veteran midfielder. Won a natty. I have to call it a natty, a national championship in college for the Stanford Cardinal in 2011. Drafted to FC Kansas City in 2015. Moved to Utah when that club folded. Spent time in what was then known as the W League in Australia, now known as the Women's A League, I believe, over there. Played for Western Sydney FC. Comes back to America, back to the Kansas City Current. And I just think every time you see her on the field, obviously she was a part of the reality show. It just like is so obvious on the field. She is one of the most loved and respected players in the league. I just think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who's not really thrilled for her to get this moment.
Yeah, just a super exciting moment. I think it had been kind of bubbling a little bit, and I don't know, it shows some real, leadership from a Mejia's standpoint. Obviously, this is like one of the best leaders in sports, in a management position for sure. But somebody that's going to say, it's sort of like there are leaders that would never put Labonte on the roster because it's like, oh, there's a little backlash and what are we actually doing? And then there are leaders that would do it the first chance they got, just for kind of like the optics and the PR of it. And then you realize it's like a leader like Hayes is like, no, now we're at the point now where this is the right time to do this. And it just feels very natural. And even though Labonte is up there in age, playing super well for the Kansas City Current.
Yeah.
The best team in the NWSL, I think, through 10 games for sure. So I think I love the move and a rock star. I mean, when I talk about a rugged 24, this midfield, they really are no breaks. Like, trying to have to contend with. There's no combination of midfielders that would present an easy challenge for any opponent.
Yeah, I think that's totally right. And, I think I invented this phrase. Surely no English pundit has ever said these words. Club form has to matter when you select your national team rosters. And like you said, Labonte has been playing great. Sam Coffey, Olivia Moultrie in Portland, been playing great. Like I always say, we don't get to see much Vrown Eredivisie over there in Netherlands, so still waiting on those media rights. But from everything I understand, Yohannes has continued to play well. We've already said she's in Sharpie no matter what until proven otherwise. She has to be in the squad. The midfield has everything, like you said.
Absolutely. Now you caught me mid-sip. All right, we're even 1-1.
Timing.
Crushing it. That's all right. These are friendlies. All right, who do you have? Precip? Who do you have in your midfield?
Okay, I'm going to go with Sam Coffey in the middle, kind of taking more of a defensive posture. She's just been a nightmare for teams this year in the league. On the left-hand side, give me one Ali Sentnor, who I realize is listed as a forward, but I don't play by the rules. She could play as an attacking midfielder. I want her with a more attacking posture. And then on the right-hand side, and obviously her and Sentnor are going to switch, the wonder kid herself, Lily Yohannes. This is, as everybody knows, this is the internet's foremost Lily Yohannes podcast. I think she could play more of kind of like a box-to-box type, give you some on defense, help set up the attack as well. So from left to right, Sentnor, Coffey, Yohannes.
I like it. We've only got one overlap there.
Nice.
In the midfield. And that is Lily Yohannes for sure. And I think we've heard from some sources close to the national team that maybe Lily's future maybe more in the 8 department. I think we had explored like whether the 10 was kind of going to be right, or just kind of where in the midfield she might land. But I definitely have Lily in my midfield. I've got Lindsey Heaps as well as a running partner, and the other 2 midfield spots, I had to go Claire Hutton, and I'm going Olivia Moultrie. It was a really tough call not having Sam Coffey, but I just love like there's been something about the U.S. Women's National Team attack where we've stalled in the midfield, and I think that Heaps, Coffey, Albert midfield, it's definitely run into some problems in terms of being able to advance the ball forward and create real chances. And I think those 3 midfielders specifically haven't been super effective themselves getting upfield and being part of the attack, from advanced positions. So I kind of like introducing, Yohannes, Moultrie, Claire Hutton, who I think this year in KC has kind of moved, further upfield. And then Heaps as a veteran, I think can be effective in a lot of different spots. But I really wonder with the makeup of this team, if like the midfield is where Emma Hayes wants to start dominating, and maybe that is like more of the recipe looking forward. 27 World Cup. How do we compete with Spain? How do we compete with England, Germany? Like what level do we need to get to? And where are the upgrades going to come from?
I love it. I think you're very likely spot on. I mean, Emma Hayes and her English background, she probably wants to dominate the midfield. Probably, very obviously, knows what it takes to go up against that kind of European style of football that you're going to have to beat in a World Cup. So yeah, I think that makes sense. That's a nicely defensive midfield for you too. You have a strong like obviously Heaps can help get the attack going. We already said with Yohannes kind of playing that number 8 box to box, whatever terminology folks want to use. But I think right now your squad would be very, very difficult to score on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and also provides some good attacking, just firepower from the midfield. Moultrie is like, I mean, looking at what Moultrie has done this season for Portland, 48 shot creating actions. She leads the NWSL in shot creating actions per 90. This is a 19-year-old player.
Yeah.
Leading shot creating actions per 90 in the NWSL. I mean, it's so easy. I mean, Moultrie's been around for what feels like a lot. The math ain't mathing in my head. This is a 19-year-old player for as long as she's been around, but still a player with so much growth and is extremely effective. 5 goal creating actions in 10 matches this season. She's top 10 in goal creating actions per 90 in the NWSL, and all of this is without Sophia Wilson. So it's not like she's this isn't Lob City, right? She's having to do a lot of work to kind of put up these numbers. So I think for me, she 100% earned a shot to be in this 24. And for my 11, she's in my 11.
I love it. No, it makes a lot of sense. Our pal, I think Mr. Goog on Reddit, Big X the Hug on Blue Sky, incredible Blue Sky name, had pointed out weeks ago that like people started to draw like a lot of conclusions about Olivia Moultrie, and she's still a teenager, and maybe some of those folks needed to maybe chill a little bit because now, and she's been dynamite for most of the season.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to the forwards. This was the one I stared at the longest, I would say, and I'd be interested to know if there's some alignment on your end as well. Not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong with this room, but it's sort of like a group that we really haven't seen together before. But again, I think that the one through line is the physicality. Like you've got Emma Sears there, you've got Cooper there, Biandola, Macario is like big and physical, a tough player to kind of bully for sure. And then you got the Thompson twins with Giselle Thompson listed as a forward.
Yes, not twins, but it's a good 80s band reference. I've thought the same, by the way. But yeah, we talked about the range of experience. I was surprised to see Michelle Cooper on there because I don't think she's played for Kansas City since like April 12th or something like that. I think I know she picked up a knock. So I was psyched to see her and was psyched to like, oh, I should immediately put her in my 11. But it was like, wait a minute. She hasn't played in a while. So
I did the same thing.
So it was just like, how do I figure that out? Because of course I immediately selfishly started thinking about the 11s that we had to put together. But yeah, just excitement up and down. Everybody rallies around Lynn Biandolo. They learn from the all-time great. They learn from the veteran. And not like any of these players are going to have any, like, it's not like I know anything about these players to where they have any problems with their professionalism, but you put them in a forward room or you put them in a position group with Lynn Biandolo, and good things are going to happen. They're going to learn a lot in that situation.
Yeah, I believe that. And just to kind of go through the full room, again, in order of caps: Lynn Biandolo, Kat Macario, Alyssa Thompson, Sentnor, Michelle Cooper, Emma Sears, and Giselle Thompson. Again, I like the room, and I like what's possible there. For my formation, again, I went 4-4. Let's call it 4-4-1-1. And in my 10 spot, my deeper one, I put Kat Macario.
Nice.
I think I've been looking for Macario to, kind of get more involved in like the midfield part of the attack, give her a chance to kind of like run and do some stuff, and then also distribute. Having her at the 9, the skills could be there, but I think the outputs, the outcomes, just haven't been there. So we just haven't seen the scoring just yet, and we've got some options here. And so that leaves my last spot, my number 9 spot. I put Alyssa Thompson there.
Look at you.
I continue to kind of like lead, this charge, the Alyssa Thompson stealth. I wouldn't say she's my number 1 MVP candidate, but she's on the ballot for sure, on the short list. Top 10 shot creating actions, top 20 goal creating actions, tied for 6 in goals and assists this year. And this is a player, again, a lot like Olivia Moultrie. She'll still be just 22 years old by the time the Brazil World Cup rolls around.
That's amazing.
It seems weird. And she's just having a great season, and it's impossible to cover. You just cannot cover her. And I found it really interesting that this team that Emma Hayes put together, tough, physical, kind of like you could just see the poster. It's almost like it got like a little Bad Boy Pistons to it. And then you throw the Thompson sisters in there just to be like, oh, you thought we were playing like this kind of game? Now try to contend with these two,
Right.
and let us know how that goes.
Yeah, we'll also juke you out of your boots at some point too. So yeah, no, I think that's a great shout. I went with the three forwards. I went with Alyssa Thompson on the left wing, per usual. I think that's her best position. I went with Lindsey and Dolo on the right wing, because obviously she has a history of doing that. I mean, you could play her on the left wing too. I think it felt like she was playing some right wing in Seattle's victory over Racing Louisville, and in that number 9 spot. Partially because I want to still see it a little bit, and partially because I think Emma Hayes is going to do it and wants it to happen. I think Kat Macario is going to go there, and I think if you have Yohannes, Sentnor, Biondolo, Thompson surrounding her, you could even switch her and Sentnor at times to kind of like vary the looks.
Yeah.
I think that could really work. But I do think your point stands. She seems to play a little better as a number 10, but also it feels like Emma Hayes is has in the past couple times where Macario's been out there, she's wanted her further upfield. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what she obviously has a lot more information than I do, but it seems like she sees something there that she's just trying to figure out a way to pull it out.
Yeah, and I think we'll see. Obviously the U.S. has got 5 matches in, I don't know, something weird, 32, 33 days.
Mm.
So we'll see a lot of different variations. You would imagine. I love the forward room of or the starting lineup of having Biondolo up top, Thompson, Macario. Not too different from what I had.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had Alyssa Thompson, Macario as well. But another midfielder. And I think again, as I'm talking this out, I'm also learning about kind of like what my preference is. I think there is an opportunity, and it sounds a little silly to say, but I think there is an opportunity to kind of like take a page out of Barcelona's book, where it's like Barcelona's able to win the ball back, right, quickly, and then just squeeze you into like the final third, and then
Mm.
be dangerous from every position. Mapi, Esme Brooks, like Fridolina Rolfo, Batri. It doesn't matter who's out there. Like we've seen Paredes score goals like over the last couple of weeks in
Yeah.
huge spots. So it's like literally every player except Katakoya you have to like keep an eye on, and maybe double, like depending on the circumstances. And I think it would be awesome to see the U.S. Women's National Team try to do a little bit of that. Like try to have some skill, try to hold the ball, work the ball forward, and give themselves more options. I think you think about She Believes, it kind of sucks to have like Macario trying to hit an 18-yard pass like over the top to a streaking Sentnor. And then if that's not perfect, the chance is over. And then we've got to wait another
Right.
5-6 minutes for something. It's like, aren't we better? Like, couldn't we like kind of pass it around, move, and like, keep these options open for longer, make these teams defend for longer? I think
Yeah.
there's a real opportunity for that kind of switch with this roster.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. And like part of it, like we joked earlier, like we saw Michelle Cooper on the list and we're like, oh, okay, want to play her. And so like the first iteration that I made had Biondolo at number 9 and Cooper on the right. But then I was like, well, okay, well, she hasn't played for like a month plus. But if you did something like that, like let's say she's in camp and she's like, yep, I'm way good to go. I'm sure Vlatko Andonovski would be super psyched about that. Hasn't played for his club team for a little while and then goes and plays for the USA. No baggage there, obviously. But if you did that, you could also then just cycle in Emma Sears on that right hand side.
Right.
And like they're not like the exact same kind of player, but you have enough similarities to where like you don't have to switch up your entire style.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll be looking for, can we get a little bit of chemistry on the outside? So you look at one side, you already nailed it. Emily Fox, doesn't matter who's there. Emily Fox, Emma Sears, that's great. Emily Fox, Michelle Cooper, that's great. Emily Fox, Biondolo, I like that too. Like,
Yep.
And thinking about and on the left hand side, maybe it's done, maybe it's Carriabello, but maybe it's Carriabello to Alyssa Thompson, or maybe to your point, Yohannes is out there or Heaps is out. Like, I think there's an opportunity to start to see a little chemistry, much like you called out early on the defensive side with the Abello, Sams, Girma. triangle. It does feel like the chemistry has been put into more consideration with this roster. I think I have a sneaky feeling, also considering the opponents, we're going to see some old school big results. That's my early little half a take chip that I think coming off that she believes little sour taste in the mouth of the entire organization. I think we're going to see some big numbers here.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely have the opportunities to score. So yeah, that'll be interesting. You see some crooked numbers up there. I think that would get people really excited.
Who are you surprised not to see? Obviously, we look at the list, we get excited, we start thinking about who's gonna start, playing that game, and then you start to peel it back and be like, oh, couple names missing off this list, and obviously we don't have all the information as mentioned prior, but was there one name, whether the two names, couple names that were surprises to you?
Interesting that Jaden Shaw is not on the team. I understand that she's been having a little bit of a rough go at North Carolina Courage this season. Just kind of, I mean, pretty clearly just trying to find her place in that squad and that style of play.
Yep.
Has really been a staple in many rosters in a row at this point. But as reported by the great Jeff Kassoff, looks like she's reporting for U23 duty. And Emma Hayes kind of said something like, this is an opportunity for some players to go out there and kind of play with new people. I don't want to misquote her, but it just kind of framed it as an opportunity. I hope Jaden Shaw looks at it that way. And I hope she says, okay, I'm going to show out. I'm going to play with a new crop of players. She's a young player. Obviously, she's playing for the damn U23 team. She is going to be the leader of that squad, I would think, with her experience and the things that she's already accomplished in her young career. So I will say, when I didn't see her name and I was psyched for Moultrie, psyched for Labonta, I was like, that came at a cost, and it appears to be Jaden Shaw.
Yeah, that one was a shocker. But obviously, yeah, I mean, a couple more names to be included in that U23 list that were mentioned today. And I think we're recording this Tuesday night. I think the U23 roster drops Wednesday. So probably by the time you listen to this, I mean, the news already have broken. But as reported by Jeff Kassoff, Jaden Shaw, official, Corbin Albert, probably all three headed to U23 duty. A couple other big names that I was surprised about. Yasmin Ryan definitely made an impact.
That's a good one.
In a couple spots for this USWNT national team. I think there was some positive momentum behind Ryan, kind of like maybe carving something out. How Hirschfeld, she's had, some of those injury issues this year, kind of still working her way back. But, I thought she would have fit in, and you talk about like a beefy, tough, rugged midfield, throw Hirschfeld in there to take it up a notch. And then obviously Croy Bethune, a player also working her way back that we've gotten excited about. That one was probably the biggest surprise for me. I think even more so than Shaw, not seeing Bethune on this list.
Yeah, I think we talked about her in the Match Week 9 recap, which you could listen to that episode. It's free. You can listen to it for free on YouTube or Spotify if you want. I mean, it's right there for you. Just a couple clicks. But like Bethune played 77 minutes and looked good out there. Well, I do wonder, how the squad is announced today, but like how long ago did Hayes have to like make the decision? And like you consider where Bethune is at. She's working her way back. She's just ready to get more than an hour in a match. Like, do you want to kind of add that to her workload? A big miss. It's not a reason to not listen to the Match Week 9 recap, but a big miss that I had in that episode was I was a dope and didn't bring up the massive ovation that Al Hirschfeld got when she came onto the field, when she returned from her injury. It was like after we recorded, I was like, yeah, probably should have mentioned that everybody went fucking nuts when Hirschfeld took the field. But I think the first one you mentioned, spot on. Yasmin Ryan, she's an Emma Hayes type player. She's looked good in her spots for the national team. But I think what this roster construction shows and what a lot of Hayes' decisions have shown is that just because Ryan's not on this one does not mean at all that she won't be on some of the next ones.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think, and I think the same for Hirschfeld, Bethune, Shaw. I
For
mean,
sure.
these are players that all of them can work their way back into the mix here. Either way, I'm excited. Let's check a quick look at the schedule here. So, U.S. Women's National Team, they'll be in action May 31st, St. Paul, Minnesota, taking on People's Republic of China. June 3rd versus Jamaica in St. Louis. June 26th and 29th, People's Republic of Ireland. And a couple of back-to-backers, 26th and 29th. A lot of People's Republic's going to be
Yeah,
getting
look at
that
that.
business in May and June. So look out. July 2nd, People's Republic of Canada. They're next up on the list.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We still got to check in with Miriam Karabi if she scores bangers. Got to get a full download of what's going on up there in Canada. We never quite did that. But a team, I mean, they stacked roster. That's going to be a fun one, July 2nd. But really nice string of matches. I think we're going to learn quite a bit over these 5.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Miriam may have been busy reporting on some other thing. I can't. There was something with Canada and the Olympics. I can't remember what it was. Probably not important.
Yeah.
But she obviously important enough for one of the best reporters in the game to do it. Shout out to Miriam Karabi, also always one of the greats. Yeah, man. I think these matches. I think they're exciting. I think the roster is really exciting, and I'm just looking forward to chopping it up with you about them.
100%. All right. So, U.S. Women's National Team, those matches on the calendar for sure. Some big player news before we get out of here. I think we got it's a lot to cover. I mean, as these little drips and drabs of news start hitting the feed this week, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then the volume got to a certain point where I'm like, all right, this needs to be somewhat of a segment on the show. So some big names on the move. I think some of them we had been a little privy to, like Ingrid Engen. I think that had been reported that she's officially moving on from Barcelona. She's been linked to Lyon. Vanessa Gilles, that was a big question mark. I think this was a shocker. I think we kind of expected her to go back to Lyon, especially defensively, the kind of year that they had, but such a flame out. I was surprised too how flippantly Leanne, when she came on our show, Leanne Sanderson, the legend, kind of flippantly was like, yeah, Joe Montemurro, he's probably out at Lyon, right? Like, and it just moved right on. I was like, oh shit, okay,
It's
I guess.
Cold world.
Yeah. All right, man. All right. We gotta make sure that we're on our shit here. And then Olga Carmona was another big one. So we got the word today that she's out from Real Madrid. I mean, big news. I'll just take a pause here. Where do we go from here?
Olga Carmona, possibly the PSG. Some of the reporting that I've seen on these internet streets, that could be interesting. So you talked about obviously Vanessa Gilles from Lyon. Lyon, the club announced the departure of 7 players in total. Gilles, Sarah Debritz, Jennifer Matajan, Daniela Vanderdonk, Laura Bentgarth, Sophia Huerta is going to return to Seattle Reign FC from loan, and the absolute legend, Eugenie Le-Sommer. Some might say Seattle Reign, or dare I say OL Reign legend, Eugenie Le-Sommer. Weird thing that I don't think I've ever discussed with you, just a quick sidebar. I've seen Eugenie Le-Sommer play in person with my own 2 eyes. I saw her play at a minor league baseball stadium in Tacoma in 2021, where Cheney Stadium, where OL Reign was playing at the time, and she had a brace in that match against the Orlando Pride. So I went back to look at the box score to be like, I don't think I'm making it up that she scored in that match. And then I remember, I was like, oh, okay. I looked at the box score. I was like, she had a brace. So
that's awesome.
Aside from scoring a brace at a minor league baseball stadium in Tacoma, Washington, here are a couple other things that Eugenie Le-Sommer has accomplished. Well, she's won the league with Lyon 13 times. She's the 2-time player of the year in the Premier League, formerly Division 1. Feminine, Division 1 Arkema, all those names. She's the 9-time Coupe de France winner. That's like basically their big country tournament. She's a 2-time FIFPro World 11, and she is UEFA Women's Champions League royalty with 8 trophies in the UEFA Women's Champions League. Pretty good, I would say.
Let's go.
She's number 3 all-time in goals with 50. She's number 5 all-time in assists with 23, and number 3 all-time in matches played, 102. all with Leon, of course.
Hmm.
An absolute legend. I'll be very interested to see where she goes next.
Yeah, I mean, wherever she ends up, I mean, it'll definitely be well deserved. And this kind of opens the door for me to roll out the latest version of Card Corner. So
Oh,
more
let's
recently,
go.
let me. I'm glad you went with Les Lemaire because this is a relatively recent pickup. If I could just track it down, yeah, there we go. Okay, so this one is a Topps Chrome pink,
Look at that.
and it's got an autograph from the legend Eugenie Les Lemaire,
Let's go.
and it's numbered
That's
to
outstanding.
199. So only 199 of these that
That's
are autographed.
outstanding. That's a beautiful looking card. It's so chromy. It's like shining into the camera, but I think I still got a pretty good view of it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll figure out how to put these on Blue Sky just because they are gorgeous. I just
Yeah.
love to look at them and kind of flip through them. So definitely had fun with that. Congratulations to the legend Eugenie Les Lemaire. Let's see what's next for that player. But a lot of players from Lyon moving on. I mean, that was somewhat surprising. I don't know. Like, do you think can we chalk it up to the Arsenal loss, or was this sort of like we're not fully up on all the contract situations and what's going on, but
Yeah.
it seemed a little bit abrupt.
I think so. I mean, Marjan is 32. I'm not going to try to quote all these players' ages off the top of my head and make a fucking fool out of myself, but like I can see how they're going to need to have some turnover and like kind of like what we were talking about with Chelsea when they just go Chelsea obviously different ball game. They go in and get absolutely cracked by Barcelona. Lyon loses in devastating fashion, but it's not like they got smashed 2 legs in a row. I think that they just, let's shake the snow globe a little bit. We got money to spend. Michelle Kang is going to spend all the money available. So I think it's just hey, let's not get comfortable here. It's time for a reset. Let's figure it out and move forward.
Yeah, and I think it also says a lot too about who stayed. So
Sure.
Heaps, Renard, Carpenter, that front three. Who am I? Damaris. I mean, like you
Sure.
can kind of sort of see what they're trying to put together. And probably Tarsiane now it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Maybe who might grab that spot, that Vanessa Gilles spot. Um, Tons of movement. We're definitely going to be watching that as we get closer here. And yeah, let's hit. I don't know, episode calendar. Let's hit a little episode calendar. So
Sure.
tomorrow or Thursday, whenever you're thinking about this, maybe Friday, depending on when you can record and this can hit the internets. Your boys will be back. Champions League picks, predictions, an entire show dedicated to the two. So we'll get into that, preview the entire final and, just put ourselves out there, make ourselves a little accountable. We're not just out here spewing. We're going to put our name on some score lines, maybe some scores, and just continue to get excited about the final. Saturday night, we'll be back to recap that final. And next week, 2025 Champions League play-by-play announcer for DAZN, Chris Sharples. He'll be joining us for the second straight year to chop it up. Cannot wait for that. A big week or two here at the ITC, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt. Chris Sharples will be in the building, will be calling the final for DAZN. He'll be circling back to us to talk about it, the scenes, his calls. Me and Dino are going to be announcer nerds and just kind of talk to him about some of that stuff as well, but mostly about the football. But he will humor us and pretend like we are actual broadcasters also.
Sharples, 4412, your third goodness me. Where are we at with that? Talk to us about that.
Let's go.
No, what a legend. All right, another quick note here. Commercials, Linktree shops, those are launched. If you're looking for some USWNT gear to go along with all the excitement that was generated, no doubt, by this episode and by MAA's roster, definitely head over to our Linktree. Check out what's available there. Your boys earn a nice little commission, pays for a beer, maybe 2, so that's always appreciated, as well as memberships available on YouTube. We've got one price tier. It's called the one beer tier. It's $4.99 a month, roughly the price of a beer. So there's a lot of synergy, pretty much up and down the show here. Memberships include fun custom digital goodies, shout outs on the show, priority replies from your boys, both in the comments and on the show. So that's a lot of fun. Feel free to take part by visiting our YouTube page. And yeah, man, I think we did pretty good. Anything else we want to hit before we get out of here?
I think that's it. We talked to let people behind the curtain. We talked about a 30-minute show. There's just too much good stuff. Here we are at 50 minutes. You know, that's how it goes sometimes. I called ourselves the Sleepy Boys podcast a couple times. We're fucking energized today. I think that roster announcement really like propelled us forward. So I'm happy to do that and stumble to the end like I am right now, trying to make some kind of clever dismount. So here we are. Maybe I am a sleepy boy after all. Who knew?
Propelling us right into the sleepy boy nature of late evening on the West Coast. This has been another episode into the channel. Thank you for rocking with us. If you enjoyed the show or love football as much as your boys do, make sure you're kicking it with us each and every single week. Like if you liked, subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. We want to hear from you. We love hearing from you. Links to all of our socials, except one, in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grand Angle, for firing up the bat signal. Big day, big announcement. I'm ready. He's ready. Usually I'm the one telling you that you're always ready. Today I was ready, so I'm very excited about that. But you know, as per usual, you brought it. I didn't pick up any hint of sleepiness until you brought it up late in the show. So I appreciate you, bro, for bringing the energy.
Likewise, buddy. I knew you'd be ready. As a wise poet once said, "You ain't got to get ready if you stay ready." So we appreciate all of you rocking with us and always staying ready yourselves. And we will see you all next time.